Before Christmas, I posted a video discussing a potential collaboration between Louis Vuitton and the Japanese artist Takashi Murakami. This would be a reboot of their initial collaboration from 20 years ago, and obviously the rumors were true because on 2nd of January, Louis Vuitton launched quite a few items from this new collaboration celebrating the 20 years of the Takashi Murakami Louis Vuitton collaboration. And the face of this whole campaign is none other than Zendaya, and it's actually not a surprise because she is a brand ambassador for Louis Vuitton, but at the same time the brand capitalizes on the Zendaya effect, as I would call it, because at the moment Zendaya is one of the people in fashion and pop culture everybody talks about. Every time when I open my feed on Instagram, I see another interesting outfit which she chooses together with her stylist Law Roach. So this is also definitely something that Louis Vuitton had in the back of their minds. But I think there's also a third reason for the choice of Zendaya, because when I think about the initial campaign in the early 2000s, I think about spring, summer, colors, youth, fun. Yes, it also is because at the time I was very young, I was a teenager, and the campaign at the time also played with this. But Zendaya in this campaign also conveys this message. It looks very youthful, it looks very fun, and it also plays with this nostalgia effect because we see the fashion which is en vogue again today, but also what we wore at the time. It's the bootcut jeans, the crop tops, and then she also wears the monogram multicolore, mule as you say in English, these shoes that were already part of the first edition. So you can clearly see that Louis Vuitton tries to capitalize on this nostalgia effect. And I do have my views on the products, I will share this in a bit, but I think that the campaign with Zendaya looked quite nice. I do think it's a good campaign. Maybe I'm taking it too far, but I do think it may also be this bridge to the early 2000s, because back then there were the it girls promoting the bag, like Paris Hilton, for example, and we could say Zendaya is now an it girl of the contemporary times. I'm not sure if I'm taking it too far, but it gives me the same feeling as when I look at the Paris Hilton images from the early 2000s. And before I jump into the details, a quick side note here. This is a non-sponsored video. I'm just sharing my personal opinion and my research here. Let's come back to this drop. I filmed this video a few days after the launch, and if I counted correctly on the website, I saw 147 items. It will depend on the region that you live in. This is what I saw from the Austrian website. It may be that you see more or less items depending on where you live. And as I predicted in my previous video, it focuses a lot on the monogram multicolore. So I was not surprised. I was also not disappointed, because I can only be disappointed if I have expectations, but I already had the feeling this is their way of playing with the nostalgia, building on a past success. So yes, this is dominating this whole collection. There are items that we saw already in the early 2000s with a few tweaks, and there are also new items that they added. I have to be perfectly honest with you, when I scrolled through the website with these new products, it did not really give me this wow effect. A lot of things felt that I have seen it before. It may be because over the past years I got a bit bored with Louis Vuitton overall, so maybe this is just reinforcing my view, but I wanted to be open-minded, and I actually thought maybe they are doing something new. One thing which is not entirely clear to me is this whole drop system that Louis Vuitton is supposed to have, because I read in a few articles and also listened to podcasts where they said that there are multiple drops of this collection. So I'm not really sure. Does this mean this is the first batch of products and then later in the year we see more products with different designs, maybe the cherry blossoms that some of you mentioned in the comments of my last video? Or does this mean that the products that you see now as coming soon will be dropped over the next week? So I'm not really sure about this. I actually think it may be the second one. If you know more about this, please let me know in the comments below. So the main focus is on this monogram multicolore, but when you go to the website, you will see there are two sections, one for this monogram multicolore, but then there's also a super flat section. And this is where you see Murakami's panda. I also mentioned this in my previous video. This is a signature character created by the Japanese artist. This character also is joined by further Murakami characters, We also see the smiling flowers. So these are new additions to this older collaboration. And Super Flat is a reference to the art movement that Murakami is not only part of, he also created it. And if you want to learn more about this art movement and also Takashi Murakami as an artist and the initial collaboration of the early 2000s, you can also watch my other video. I don't want to repeat myself here. I want to keep this simple and focus on the current drop. I'm a bit surprised that we didn't see the cherry blossoms, because for me this was one of the designs that I would have included in this relaunch if I had been Louis Vuitton, but maybe it comes later if there are other drops. I was also surprised to see the mocha hands, because when I think of all the collaborations that Murakami has done with Louis Vuitton so far, the mocha hands is actually not the one that immediately comes to my mind. So I was surprised to see that one. You can find it on the Capucine bag, for example, and also as a print on the silk scarves. Overall, I have to say I'm a bit underwhelmed. The only thing that I like, so that I also give you something positive, is the smiling flowers, because for me that's a really nice signature Murakami, also with the story of the smiling flowers that I explained in my other video. And on this keep all with the classic monogram canvas, it actually looks quite nice. So now you also have one positive product where I say I like it. When you look at the prices of the products, you can see a very big range. The entry level would probably be the Jane notebook, which comes in different designs. For example, in the monogram multicolor, but also with the panda. It costs 90 euros. I've seen it's already sold out. So this would be this typical entry level for the aspirational customer. And the next entry level product would be the silk bundles. They come in multiple designs. One is, for example, a faint print of the monogram canvas in the front. And then on top you have these flowers that I just mentioned. Then the border has a very bright pink stripe, we could say, and it says Louis Vuitton. And on the back side you have the monogram canvas print in beige with brown. I think it's okay. They advertise it as a hair accessory, or you can put it around your waist or tie it around the bag. So I think, yeah, somebody who likes this design or Murakami and doesn't want to spend thousands of euros or thousands of dollars may be inclined to buy those silk bundles. And this is the typical business school case that is taught, because you have a variety of items. Most of them are very expensive and only a few people can buy them. But with these more affordable products, you can also reach people that are more aspirational and they want to own a part of the brand or the collection, even though they cannot afford the very expensive items. And by now you already may know I'm not a big fan of these re-editions, because I also was not a big fan of the Prada nylon re-edition bag, because for me, as I said before, it feels a bit boring and lazy, because for me luxury is also creativity, innovation. I know it makes sense. There are people who either are very nostalgic about this monogram multicolor and they can't find it on the second-hand market, or there are people who can't remember that campaign, or they don't know about the campaign because they are too young. So yes, from a business perspective, it totally makes sense. But for me, it kind of reinforced this image that I get from the luxury industry recently. It's less about creativity, it's more about the numbers. It's something that we have seen before. And I do think it's not outrageous to ask for more from a luxury brand, from a big company. I do think they would have the resources to be more creative, to be more innovative, but I know this is rather a quick solution. Being innovative and creative takes more time and the market pressure is very high. And I have to say, recently I've become a bit tired of this Louis Vuitton pattern, because wherever you go, you see these bags, you see the patterns. I don't know how you feel about this. Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear about this. My issue is that I don't want to look like everybody else on the street. For me, fashion should be fun. It should be a vehicle for expressing your personality. And if we then all wear the same, it kind of gets boring. So for this reason, most of my bags have been in a beauty slumber over the past years. And recently I actually thought about taking out the monogram multicolor that I own. But then I read about this campaign and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna see this everywhere again. I'm gonna get tired of it. So I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe I'm a bit vain that I say I don't want to look like other people on the streets, but let me know in the comments below what's your view on this. When you look at the range of products, you will see the golden oldies, because from this collection, the Pochette, the Alma, the Speedy, the Keeple, they were really, really popular, and they are also highly sought after on the resale market. And I think this is exactly what Louis Vuitton wanted to capture. I'm sure they knew for how much these monogram multicolor bags go on the resale platforms. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I looked up the Pochette, the new one. It retails for 1,900 euros. And this is exactly also roughly the price that you would pay today for a second-hand one from the early 2000s. I don't know if the prices are still the same after this relaunch, but I don't think that this is a coincidence. These bags are not exactly what they looked like in the early 2000s. There are some tweaks. For example, if I compare the Pochette, the studs at the top are different. Also, the strap is different because you get an additional chain. At the time when I bought it, this was the very first launch of the monogram multicolor. I had to buy kind of like an extension part to make the pochette handle a bit longer so that I can carry it on my shoulder. And I'm not sure if it's just the pictures, but I also feel that the pochette is a bit more square than the older models. I might be mistaken because of the pictures. This is something I would like to know. If you own this new pochette, maybe you can drop me a comment and tell me if it's round or square. I would be interested in that. And in general, if you are among the people who like this collection and who purchased something, I would really like to hear your view on it. What is the quality like? Because also Louis Vuitton over time in these 20 years changed materials. They changed the types of leather, for example. So I would like to hear what you think about this. Does this come up to the old version, or do you think the quality is not as good, or maybe it's better? Let me know in the comments below. And I would like to point out one little detail. On the inside, you have this label saying 20-year anniversary celebration. So I think this is a nice touch. Overall, when we look at prices, what are we looking at? So basically the monogram canvas, the bags, not the accessories or smaller leather goods, they start at around 2,000 euros. And then they go up to around 4,000 to 6,000 euros, depending on the model. There are also more expensive models, of course. And then the leather bags, this is no surprise, they are always more expensive than the monogram canvas. They start at around 4,000 or 5,000 euros, and then they go up. The most expensive product that I've seen so far is a monogram multicolor trunk for 68,000 euros. You can also buy the pyramid of smaller trunks. And of course, there is a range of items. So I mentioned before the bags, but then you have small leather goods, you have card holders, there are also keychains, shoes. I saw sneakers, the notebooks, and then among the usual bags and smaller leather goods, there are also items which are a bit interesting. Let's put it like this. There is a super flat puzzle for 800 euros, a coffee cup for 450. I think there is a fragrance travel case for 670 euros, and I discovered a toolbox for 1,680 euros. No judgment here. I'm sure there are fans and collectors who buy this. I personally would not spend the money on these items, but if you are somebody who is into these items, maybe you drop a quick comment below and explain why you like them. As I said, it's a judgment-free zone. I just want to understand it, because personally I would not buy this. And I would like to point out one detail here, which is only related to the products. It's more the digital appeal of the campaign. I'm an IT nerd and I like beautiful websites. And my issue is that these luxury websites, despite their budget, they look like from 10 years ago. It's this usual grid. You can buy the products very often, very few photos. This really annoys me. As a small brand, you have to take thousands of photos and videos and convince people. And the big ones then give you 2 pictures of shoes where you can't even see the model walk or something like this. So in this case, what I liked is not the grid or the pictures. They have something when you hover over the products, you see the smiling flowers by Murakami appear, and it looks as if it glitters. So this is a nice touch. It's fairly easy to do that, but it's something new. And I really like this from the digital shopping experience. Yes, it's not rocket science, and you might say like, oh, why are you pointing this out? Because it's very rare, but it is a nice touch. And another thing that I noticed on the website is when you open the product page, right at the top, you will see that the product numbers are limited. So it's 1 unit per item per client, because they want to preserve the scarcity or the rarity of these items. I find this funny when luxury brands do that, because they say scarcity or rarity, and then they don't really explain how many products they actually launch, because this is an information that you can't find. How many pieces does Louis Vuitton really launch of this edition or other bags or other designs? When you compare this to the arts, if you buy a print, you will always see the number out of, let's say, 400 prints. This is number 235 that you purchase. And then you can tell how many other prints are out there. So this is something I would expect from a luxury brand. When they say this is a limited edition, then please tell us the number. But of course, this is not how the business works, because why would they do that? They are not required to do this. It would also go against the business, because I assume it's much more than what we think it is. But this is just my personal opinion. This is alleged, so don't pin me down on this. And after this launch, I also looked online and looked at the comments at Louis Vuitton's Instagram, because I was like, I want to know, how is this collection received? And I was a bit naive, because I thought it will be, I like the design. Some people will say, la, it's boring, I don't really like it. But then I saw this long list of really, really bad comments where people said they could not shop because the website crashed. They were online shopping and then suddenly the cart disappeared. They got an error message. They got an email after shopping that the order was cancelled. And there were other people who said they queued for hours in front of the store only to be told that everything was sold out. It was already sold out the days before the launch. And then people said, I have been a long-term customer of Louis Vuitton. I can't get my hands on them. They asked questions like, did it only go to celebrities and influencers? And I think that Louis Vuitton may have tried to play this scarcity card. We know this game from Hermès and their waiting lists, for example, where they are very successful with this approach. So this may have been the strategy, but I don't know if it then worked out, because if you then get that many comments, and I'm not making this up, like I went through it yesterday in preparation for this video, I saw so many people complain. I wonder if the scarcity aspect that they wanted to create really helped them. What I would like to know from you is if you tried to buy one of these products, or if you bought one of these products, how did you do it? Was it a good experience? Did everything work out? Or are you also with these people online who complained that they couldn't get their hands on these items? To sum it up, I think the online buzz and hype that they created from a business perspective was really well done. I don't know about the execution, given all these comments online. I do have to say I can't prove this, because these are only the comments that the brand got after the launch. So I can't 100% say that all of this is true, but this is just the feeling that I got from scrolling through these comments. When I look at these items, I'm not really getting the wow effect. There are some new things. For example, there is a capucine with a different take on the monogram multicolor. It's nice, it gives us something new, and there are a few items that look a bit different, but for me in the end it's this reboot of something that worked 20 years ago, which is in my opinion a bit too easy. So for me it was more on the boring side, because I have seen this before, but maybe it's getting older, part of getting older, because this whole thing reminded me of a conversation that I had with my mom when I was a teenager, and I told her about the cool things from the 70s and 80s, and she said like nothing is new, everything is coming back, it's getting a bit boring. So maybe this is also a personal perspective, but let me know what you think about this. Is it boring for you as well, or did you like it? Did you purchase the items? Let me know in the comments below. And please don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Also give my video a like if you enjoyed it, because this really helps me. This is feedback for me when I produce these weekly videos. If you want to read more fashion related articles, you can also head over to thepinklookbook.com, and you can also check out my fashion label Pelagona. And now I talked a lot about this monogram multicolor edition, but I've also done other videos about Louis Vuitton, and one may be interesting for you if you want to learn more about the monogram canvas, where it's actually coming from, and that, as the name suggests, it is not made from leather, even though a lot of people online still call it leather. So maybe this is interesting for you. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and see you in the next one.